Stop calling it empowerment when you mean exclusion. Good evening, beautiful souls. I want to start tonight by introducing you to someone who is nothing short of extraordinary. Her name is Peaches Wiley, and she is a force, a visionary, a woman who has dedicated her entire life to amplifying the voices, the brilliance, and the economic power of Black women entrepreneurs across the globe. Peaches doesn't just talk about change, she architects it. She builds bridges where there were walls. She creates pathways where there were only closed doors. She disrupts systems that were never designed for us. And recently, I had the profound honor of sitting down with her, listening to her wisdom, her fire, her truth. What she shared with me, what she's witnessed in her work, is something that will shake you, wake you, and I hope inspire you to see entrepreneurship, ambition, and resilience in a completely different light. Because here's what Peaches helped me understand: we live in a world that loves to celebrate the idea of the entrepreneur, the bootstrapper, the self made success story. We love the narrative of grit, hustle, determination. And nowhere is that narrative more alive, more vibrant, more real than in the lives of Black women, especially African women. Africa leads the entire world in female entrepreneurship rates. Let that sink in for a moment. The entire world. In many African nations, women make up the majority of entrepreneurs. They are starting businesses, generating revenue, creating jobs, feeding families, building economies from the ground up. They are proving every single day that capability is not the issue. Vision is not the issue. Determination is not the issue. And yet, women founded startups globally capture just 2 to 3% of venture capital funding. 2 to 3%. Not because these women lack ideas, not because they lack capability, not because they lack hustle or heart or vision, but because of institutional bias, because of a lack of respect, a lack of capital, a lack of access. This is the contradiction Peaches Wiley lives in every single day. And it's the contradiction that should make all of us stop and ask, what are we really celebrating when we celebrate entrepreneurship? Are we celebrating the women who start the businesses, or are we only celebrating the few who manage to scale despite a system designed to keep them small? Let me tell you what the data shows. Over 80% of Black women entrepreneurs in Canada bootstrap their businesses using personal savings. 80%. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for a loan officer to believe in them. They take what little they have and they build. They validate their ideas in the marketplace. They generate revenue. They prove that their businesses work. And then they hit a wall because less than 1% of these women ever secure venture capital. The same pattern repeats itself globally. In Africa, where entrepreneurship is booming, where women are leading the charge, the funding gap is suffocating. Only 37% of women have access to a bank account compared to 48% of men. Formal finance is out of reach, networks are out of reach. And so these brilliant, capable, revenue generating entrepreneurs get stuck in what Peaches and others call the sticky middle. They can start, but they can't scale. Now, here's where it gets interesting because the common response to this problem, the one we hear over and over again, is that these women need more training, more workshops, more empowerment programs, more capacity building. And I want to be very clear about something: training is not the problem, capacity is not the problem. These women have already proven their capacity by generating revenue with almost nothing. The problem is respect. The problem is access. The problem is capital. Let me tell you about Rebecca Inonchong. Rebecca is a pioneering tech entrepreneur from Cameroon and the CEO of Apps Tech. She started building her company in the 1990s in an environment where resources were scarce, where being a woman in tech meant constantly fighting for a seat um, at the table, where cultural expectations and financial barriers were everywhere. And she didn't just survive, she thrived. She scaled apps tech across more than 20 countries. She became one of the most influential tech leaders on the entire African continent. And now she uses that platform to say what needs to be said. Respect, not rescue. That's her rallying cry. Stop treating us like we need saving. Stop wasting money on training programs when what we actually need is capital, networks, and institutional reform. Give us respect, give us access, and watch what we build. This is not a small idea. This is a disruptive, world changing idea because it forces us to confront a deeply uncomfortable truth. The systems we've built to support entrepreneurship, the venture capital ecosystem, the banking system, the networks of mentorship and access, they were not designed with Black women in mind. They were designed to serve a very specific kind of founder. And when Black women show up, revenue in hand, market validation in hand, they are told implicitly or explicitly that they still aren't ready, that they still need more help, more training, more proof. But here's what Peaches Wiley knows. Here's what Rebecca Nanchong knows. Here's what the data shows us over and over again. Black women entrepreneurs don't need rescuing. They need resources. They don't need empowerment workshops. They need capital. They don't need to be taught how to hustle. They need access to the same networks, the same investors, the same opportunities that their white and male counterparts take for granted. And when they get that access, magic happens. Think about the Black women entrepreneurs right here in Canada. 80% of them are bootstrapping with personal savings. 80%. They're not waiting for institutions to validate them. They're validating themselves. They're taking their rent money, their grocery money, their savings, and they're betting on themselves. They're proving the market wants what they're selling. They're generating early revenue. They're building customer bases. They're creating value. And then the system tells them, not yet. You're not ready yet. Come back when you have more traction. Come back when you have more proof. Come back when you fit the mold we've created. But the mold was never designed for them. And so they stay stuck, not because they're incapable, not because their businesses aren't viable, but because less than 1% of them will ever access venture capital, less than 1%. Meanwhile, their counterparts, the ones who fit the traditional founder profile, the ones who have access to family wealth, elite networks, and institutional credibility, they get funded on potential. They get funded on ideas. They get funded before they've made a single dollar in revenue. Black women entrepreneurs have to prove revenue first, and even then, they're told it's not enough. This is the reality Peaches Wiley is fighting to change. And it's not just happening in Canada, it's happening across the globe in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Ghana, in South Africa. Black women are starting businesses at rates that dwarf the rest of the world. They're generating traction. They're creating solutions for their communities. They're building businesses that matter. And they're running into the same wall: limited access to formal finance. Only 37% of women in these regions have bank accounts compared to 48% of men. Think about what that means. It means that even if you have a viable business, even if you're generating revenue, you can't access the basic financial infrastructure that allows you to scale. You can't get a business loan. You can't get a line of credit. You can't access the capital that would allow you to hire, to expand, to grow. You're stuck in the sticky middle: revenue, access, scale. That's the pipeline. And for Black women entrepreneurs, the access stage is where the system breaks down. But here's what's revolutionary: Black women are not sitting around waiting for the system to fix itself. They're building their own solutions. Networks like the Key Network and frameworks like the Hidden 10 are stepping into the gap. They're providing the capital, the mentorship, the strategic resources that allow Black women entrepreneurs to move from revenue to scale. They're creating the infrastructure that the traditional system refuses to provide. And it's working. When you give Black women entrepreneurs what they actually need, not what you think they need, they scale, they lead, they transform entire industries. These women are not asking for handouts, they're not asking to be coddled, they're asking for respect, they're asking for access, they're asking for the same opportunities that everyone else takes for granted. And when they get those opportunities, they don't just succeed. They excel, they create jobs, they build wealth, they transform communities, they shift entire economies. Now, I want to bring this home because this isn't just about Africa. This isn't just about venture capital. This is about every single one of us who has ever been told, you're not ready yet. You need more experience. You need more credentials. You need to prove yourself just a little bit more. This is about the lie that capability is the issue when the real issue is access. This is about the exhausting, soul crushing reality of being excellent and still being overlooked. Peaches Wiley shared something with me that I can't stop thinking about. She said, these women are not failing, the system is failing them. And when we frame it as a problem of readiness or capacity or empowerment, we let the system off the hook. We make it the woman's responsibility to fix a problem she didn't create. But when we frame it as a problem of access, of respect, of institutional bias, then the responsibility shifts. Then we have to ask, what are we going to do differently? How are we going to open doors? How are we going to redistribute capital, power, and opportunity? And here's the beautiful, powerful, revolutionary part. Black women are not waiting for permission. They're building anyway. They're bootstrapping anyway. They're generating revenue anyway. They're creating networks anyway. They're advocating for change anyway. They're proving every single day that the problem was never them. The problem was always the system, and they're changing the system, one business, one network, one act of defiance at a time. So, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for us? It means we have to stop asking, are they ready? And start asking, are we ready? Are we ready to respect Black women entrepreneurs enough to give them capital, not just training? Are we ready to open our networks, not just our workshops? Are we ready to invest in their businesses, not just their potential? Are we ready to see them as they are, brilliant, capable, revenue generating leaders, and, and give them what they actually need to scale? Because here's the truth. When Black women entrepreneurs succeed, we all succeed. When they scale, they create jobs, they build wealth, they transform communities, they shift entire economies. They prove that entrepreneurship is not about who has the most privilege, the most access, the most capital from the start. It's about who has the most vision, the most resilience, the most determination to build something meaningful, even when the odds are stacked against them. Peaches Wiley is building a world where Black women don't have to choose between starting and scaling, where the sticky middle is not a trap, but a transition, where respect is the foundation and access is the bridge. And here's what I need you to hear. This is not someone else's fight. This is not someone else's responsibility. This is ours. This is yours. This is mine. Every single one of us has power. We have networks, we have capital, we have access, we have influence. And the question is not whether Black women entrepreneurs are ready to scale. The question is, what are you going to do with your power? What door are you going to open this week? What introduction are you going to make? What check are you going to write? What bias are you going to challenge? What system are you going to disrupt? because Black women have already proven themselves. They've already shown up. They've already generated revenue. They've already validated their businesses. They've already done the work. Now it's our turn. It's our turn to prove we're listening. It's our turn to prove we believe them. It's our turn to prove that we're ready to build a world where respect isn't a favor, it's the foundation. So here's my challenge to you. Before you leave here today, before you go back to your life, your work, your routine, I want you to think of one Black woman entrepreneur you know, one woman who's bootstrapping, one woman who's generating revenue, one woman who's stuck in the sticky middle, not because she's incapable, but because the system won't let her through. And I want you to ask yourself, what door can I open for her? What access can I create? What capital can I provide? What network can I introduce her to? Because she doesn't need another workshop. She doesn't need another training. She doesn't need to be empowered. She needs you to respect her enough to give her what she actually needs: capital, access, opportunity. And when you do that, when you open that door, when you make that introduction, when you write that check, when you challenge that bias, you're not just helping one woman, you're changing the entire system. You're proving that a different world is possible. A world where Black women don't have to fight twice as hard to get half as far. A world where their brilliance is recognized, their businesses are funded, and their success is inevitable. That's the world Peaches Wiley's building. That's the world Rebecca Inanchong is building. That's the world Black women entrepreneurs are building every single day, with or without our support. The only question is, are you going to join them? Are you ready to stop calling it empowerment when you mean exclusion? Are you ready to give respect, not rescue? Are you ready to open the door? Because they're already standing on the other side, revenue in hand, vision in heart, ready to scale. All they need is for you to let them in. So let them in, open the door, and watch what they build. Thank you.